I want to thank you so much for joining this evening to learn how you can electrify your ride with a new or even pre-owned EV for 2025. My name is Annika Osborn. I'm with Cool the Earth, an environmental nonprofit with a mission to reduce carbon emissions and air pollution. While we are big fans of walking, biking, public transit, and carpooling, preferably in an electric car or on
trucks,
an e-bike, which I've definitely seen a whole family on an e-bike, which is very cool. With our Ride and Drive Clean collaboration, we work to advance the adoption of electric vehicles, EVs and e-bikes, in a fair and just marketplace. I'd like to thank the City of Palo Alto Utilities for sponsoring this webinar. Since we won't be covering charging too much in this webinar, I would like to share upfront that City of Palo Alto Utilities electricity is already carbon neutral, and CPAU offers some of the most affordable electricity in the Bay Area. So here's our agenda for today. We'll have this little intro. We'll talk briefly about the benefits of driving electric, and we'll dive right into an EV showcase where we'll be looking at some great deals to be had right now. We'll be looking at some very popular EVs that are available right now and some that are coming. We will then cover EV incentives. As a nonprofit organization doing outreach and education about EVs, this is something that we try to stay up with minute by minute, really, in these last few weeks. So we'll give you an overview on that. And then we'll talk a little bit more about Ride and Drive Clean, what we do, who we are. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A. So I will just note that we will be going over a lot of information. Not to worry, I'll be sending a PDF of this presentation in our follow-up email. And if any questions come up, feel free to ask them in the chat. And I'll try to get to them throughout the presentation. If not, we'll look at the questions at the Ask Me Anything EV section. All right, let's dive in. So, starting with some of the benefits of EVs. There are many benefits to driving electric. In California, our passenger vehicles are the single largest source of GHG emissions, representing 50 to 60% of our individual carbon footprint. When we switch from a gas car to an EV and plug into clean energy, like we can do here in the Bay Area, we are taking impactful climate action by reducing emissions and air pollution, both which disproportionately impact our priority communities. And while driving electric is better for the planet, there's no sacrifice when you go electric. EV drivers save time, money, and enjoy an improved driving experience. Although early EV drivers paid a high premium for driving electric, today's EV drivers often save money, and here are some reasons why. It costs much less to fuel an electric car. Fueling a gas car can be 2 to 5 times more expensive than fueling an EV, depending upon where and when you charge it. Electricity prices, although in many places in the Bay Area have gone up over the past year, they tend to be a little more stable than gas prices, as we have seen in the past few years with the roller coaster of gas prices, and I suspect we'll be seeing some more of that. In addition, maintenance costs are 40% lower for EVs. It's basically adding windshield wiper fluid and rotating your tires, something I do every 6,000 miles or so. Maybe I've read that, you may need to replace your tires a little bit more often than with gas cars, just because batteries are very heavy. So it weighs down on the tires a little bit. And then there are incentives available that can help bring down, the cost of purchasing or leasing an EV. We've been seeing a lot of great lease deals over the past few months, and we'll be talking more about those incentives that are available from the federal government, from state of California, and from some local incentives as well, a little later after we do the showcase. So in addition to saving money with an EV, many people save time. With an EV, you can get access to the HOV lane as a single passenger for 3 years with a special decal, and you'll never have to wait in line at a gas station again. I never knew how nice that would be. For many people, it's convenient to charge at home or at work or while running errands. EVs offer low maintenance and efficiency. While there are 2,000 plus moving parts in a gas car, there are fewer than 20 in an EV. So there are many fewer maintenance visits. So that reduces saves you a little time as well. And EVs are a little more fun to drive. What I really like is the extra torque or power that you get when you drive an EV. I know when I'm getting on the freeway, I can just, quickly accelerate and glide into where I need to be. And then changing lanes is super easy. You just kind of power up and glide into where you want to go. I love the quiet and smooth drive, which makes for great conversations when you're on a road trip. And with additional safety features and sensors in these high-tech cars, EVs are some of the safest cars available. So there are so many benefits to driving electric, and those who make the switch to an EV rarely go back to driving gas cars. With so many EVs and plug-in hybrids available, there's an EV really for every lifestyle and budget. Most fully electric EVs offer 200 to 300 miles of range. Some go even farther on one charge. That means you can get from San Francisco to Tahoe with just a 15-minute charging break. And in some of these EVs with a higher range, you won't have to stop to charge at all. In many EVs, on the way home from Tahoe, you won't have to stop to charge if you start with a full tank because of something called regenerative braking. So whenever you're not accelerating, you're actually charging your battery. So that's pretty exciting. I've played around with that quite a bit. So there are over 50 all-electric models, close to 40 plug-in hybrids, and 40 EVs that offer all-wheel drive. I will say I started doing presentations about EVs 6 years ago. There were 10 models available, so things have changed. It's really exciting to see all these new EVs coming out all the time. So the lowest priced EV starts at $28,140, and that's well below the average cost of a new car. So I'd like to start by pointing out the great lease deals that are available on some 2024 models. This information comes from our partner Cartelligent, a car concierge service that offers great pricing and a no-hassle buying and leasing experience. Through our EV discount campaigns, Cartelligent has helped thousands of people save thousands of dollars on EVs. So if you do reach out to Cartelligent, mention Ride and Drive Clean. When we're not running our discount campaigns with them, there is a service fee, which is $595. If you mention Ride and Drive Clean, they'll take $100 off of that. We just finished a flash sale that we had going on for the month of January. We were featuring the Volkswagen ID4 and the Honda Prologue. Whenever we have a flash sale or a discount campaign going on, they waive the service fee. We're actually just waiting to hear back to see if we can extend this flash sale into the month of February. We'll know in the next day or two. Since you signed up for this webinar, you'll be the first to know if this continues on. But we highly recommend working with Cartelligent. They're a very well-regarded car concierge service. And we know from feedback that we get from people who we work with all the time, like 98% of people are like, I will never buy a car another way. Just because Cartelligent does all the negotiating for you, you just have to pull up to one of their convenient offices in Menlo Park, Walnut Creek, Sausalito, or Irvine, pick up your car, sign the papers, and you're done. Yeah, so the car here, I don't have the Acura ZDX in my showcase, so I did want to just put that here just so you could take a quick look. This car actually also qualifies for the federal tax credit if you purchase it. All right, so here come the EVs. So in this next section, I'll be doing an EV showcase. with some popular EVs that have been around for a while, some that came out in 2024, and some that we're going to be seeing here in 2025. The prices listed are the starting MSRP. I've starred the ones that qualify for the federal clean vehicle credit. And it's interesting to know that that is available as an upfront rebate. So if you were to go in and purchase a car, purchase an EV, you can get that $7,500, use it as a down payment, get it immediately. You don't have to wait until you file your taxes. I'll talk a little bit more about that after the showcase, but I just wanted to give you a heads up there on these starred cars. So the 2024 in 2024, Chevy launched actually 3 exciting new models: the Chevy Equinox EV, the Chevy Blazer, and the Chevy Silverado. You'll see that on my trucks slide a little later on. They all qualify for the federal clean vehicle credit as well when you purchase or finance. They also have the NACS adapter available, the North American Charging Standard adapter available, so you can charge up at many of the Tesla supercharging stations. There are 5 or 6 manufacturers that currently have unveiled the adapter that is necessary to charge at the Tesla supercharging stations. I'll just make a little note there. It's the Chevys, the Fords, the Polestars, the Volvos, and the Rivians. And I've seen all of those at the charging stations. So it's great to see that more people driving all sorts of cars are able to benefit from the very vast and reliable Tesla charging network. The Nissan Leaf, you guys have seen around for a long time. It was like literally the first EV that came out, but it remains the most affordable EV, and that is for a little bit of the lower range, 150-mile range. We're often paying for more battery range, but if you look at that Equinox, 285 to 319, a friend of mine recently got this car over the summer. An amazing lease deal she got on this, and she says she charges it to 360. And this, if you were to purchase this, 33,600 qualifies for 7,500. You get that as, could be your down payment. So really great deal. So the Equinox is a compact SUV that combines SUV capabilities, modern technology, and everyday features. It is a car that doesn't look so different from a regular gas car. So it's not like getting into a Lucid or a Tesla where it's a whole different, driving experience. The Blazer EV is the first mass market SUV built on GM's Ultium EV toolkit. It has a good real world range, an interface that will help drivers find charging stations, which can be very handy. And the Blazer is aimed at those looking for a more stylish, spacious, and performance-oriented EV. You may have noticed that the Chevy Bolt is missing. They started making cars in 2017. The Chevy Bolt came out in 2017. It was really quite revolutionary. It was the first really good value EV that came out with a long range in 2017. The range was, was about 259. Chevy took a break from making the Chevy Bolt for the 2024 model year. We are reading that they're coming back with the 2025, and we're anticipating more information about that. And the last I read, it's still going to be in that $27,000 or $28,000 range, and it should have a good 250-mile range. It will also have the Ultium battery, so it will be able to charge faster when you're on a road trip using a level 3 charger. So good upgrades coming for the Chevy Bolt. I've also heard it's just going to be the Chevy Bolt EUV, which is a tiny bit larger than the Chevy Bolt EV. Okay, so these here are some popular cars available under $40,000. These have been around for a while. The Kona came out in 2019, the Volkswagen, I think, in 2020, the Mustang Mach-E in 2019 or 2020, around that time. So they've been around for a while. Very popular. And just as a note, the average cost of a car in the United States, actually in 2024, was $48,000. So these cars come in well below that price. And that's before fuel savings and maintenance savings. So the cars on this slide all have a bidirectional battery. So you can power a refrigerator or other appliance with the car battery for a week or so if you were to lose power. No need for a gas generator at home. So the Kias and the Hyundais are built on the same platform, which also offer very fast charging. The Kia Niro has been around for a while, but it's been updated, and some of the trim levels do have bidirectional charging. Not all of them do. Note the Kia EV6 was one of those cars listed as having a great lease deal for 2024. It qualifies for the federal tax credit if you decide to purchase or finance that car. The Hyundai Ioniq has been super popular. We've just seen more and more of these around. We've sold a lot through our discount campaigns in 2024. People love this car as well. So I would say these two cars are pretty similar. So the Kia, out of these cars, the Kia Niro is a little on the smaller side. The Kia EV6 and the Hyundai Ioniq 5 are a little bit larger, just different kind of shapes. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 is a little more kind of boxy, retro looking, and the EV6 looks a little longer and kind of smoother. And I really like the look of the Ioniq 6. It comes in at a good price. It's a sedan. It kind of like goes down. It's a cool looking car for sure. All right, we'll talk a little bit about Tesla. And with Tesla, we like to focus on the technology. People love Teslas for their fast, easy, and reliable charging. The Model 3 and Model Y are the most affordable models, and several trims qualify for the federal tax credit. So if you were to purchase one of these two cars, that's $7,500 off right at the start when you purchase it. So I know Tesla has a reputation for having expensive cars, but really these are some of the best value cars that we're seeing in the market, especially when you take into consideration the federal tax credit. So these are efficient, safe cars. The Model Y has an optional third row of seats and can seat 7 passengers. I think 2 small people in the very, very back. And I'll just talk, because I'm not really doing a lot about charging in this webinar. It's more about EV models. And so what happened in this last year is that, there have been a lot of fast charging reliability studies done. And many found that a lot of the charging stations weren't very reliable. We came up with like a 75% rate of reliability for non-Tesla chargers. So every EV manufacturer decided that they wanted in on the Tesla supercharging network. So we don't have to call it we can call it now so basically the Tesla charger is now the North American Charging Standard, or NACS. So while there are some supercharging stations where only Teslas can charge, there are many where many different EV models can charge. And that list is growing all the time. So every manufacturer has made a commitment that they want to use the Tesla supercharging network. 5 of them, as I mentioned earlier, have already started sending out the adapters to use the supercharging network. And some of them, in fact, let me go back one slide. Some of them have made a commitment that starting in their 2025 models, they're going to have the NACS port. So there's no, built into the car. So there's no need for an adapter. And the only one that we've heard from at this point is Hyundai Ioniq 5. Starting in 2025, their model year 2025 will have the NACS port. We'll be hearing from more and more of these later this year, because they've all made a commitment. Here are some popular EVs that are more in the mid-range. Wow. So Honda came out with this Prologue in the spring, and it has been super popular. Nationwide, they've sold 40,000 Honda Prologues since this spring. People really love this car. It's a pretty large car. It's in the same size, really, as like the Kia EV6 and the Hyundai Ioniq 5, maybe a little bigger. I will, like, on a personal note, my brother has this car. He also has a Tesla Model Y. He just got this Prologue, and he said it's even a little longer and a little wider than the Tesla Model Y. So it's a pretty good sized car. I sat in the back of his car just to see what it was like. Super roomy in the back seat. People love the Honda brand. It also qualifies for the federal tax credit if you purchase it. This is also one of those cars that is offering great lease rates right now. That's why my brother got it. He traded in his Polestar 2 for the Honda Prologue because of the great lease pricing that he saw. The Polestar 2 is a nicely appointed car. It drives really well. It is one of those cars that has the NACS adapter already. The Audi Q4 e-tron has also been very popular. I love that it comes in at a great price, about $20,000 less than the regular Audi e-tron. So these cars, as I mentioned, most gas cars, or most cars now are, the average cost is $48,000. These are right in there. And if you look at that Honda Prologue, $47,400, that's before the great lease pricing or the federal tax credit if you purchase. So these cars have been around for a while, hugely popular. We see them around. What I love about the Volvos is they came out 3 years ago, with like the range was like 208 miles. So they've upped the range significantly. If you're going to be using a car for a road trip, I recommend that you get a car that has 250 miles of range or more so that you don't have to stop so often. The pricing has come down a little bit on the Volvos as well. Real popular cars. The XC40 is more like your traditional, like little boxier Volvo. And I think that C40 Recharge looks a little more like a Saab almost. It has that, like, the smoother lines, a little bit more rounded. And then the Cadillac Lyriq has a great car, is a great car as well that qualifies. I don't have a star. I should have a star there because it qualifies for the federal tax credit. Cadillac also has the Optic coming out later this year. I don't have a slide for that, unfortunately, but that should be an exciting one to watch as well. Here are a couple of cars that are super exciting, a little more on the higher end. So I'll start with the Polestar 3. It is, these are both cars that are, Polestar and Lucid only make EVs. So these are built just as electric cars, which is pretty great. And the Polestar 2 was, it's a sedan. It's been very popular. And so this is a crossover SUV, so a bit larger. I test drove it a while, but I actually test drove both of these cars at an event a couple months ago. Really, really fun to drive. The Lucid Air, it has a high sticker price, but it also has a really great range. And we're seeing amazing lease prices on Lucid. But when you purchase a Lucid, you're going to go through Lucid directly. Really good lease pricing on the Lucids. I know it's a pretty luxurious car. I actually have the wrong car here, and I apologize. This is not the Lucid. It's a Polestar. The Lucid, I'll try to find a picture for it. It looks similar to this. It's more of a sedan style. And the inside looks a little bit like a Tesla. It has, that one tablet. Sorry about that. I'll show you a picture of the Lucid a little later on. So if finding a parking spot is often on your mind, one of these smaller EVs should be on your radar. So the 2025 Mini Cooper EV comes with significantly more range than the current model, which has about 120 miles of range. People love their Mini Coopers. This will be coming out a little later this year. The Fiat 500e was first available in about 2017. It was available for 3-4 years. People love this car. These are, people love these small compact cars. I always think about, I wish I had one of these cars whenever I go to San Francisco. It seems like there are a lot of parking spots that are available for like 2/3 the size of my car. And these cars fit in really nicely in those smaller parking spots. But yeah, the Fiat 500e has upped its range a little bit, comes in at good value, really great round the town car, and a good commuting car. The Volvo EX30 was supposed to come out last summer. We've been waiting, they keep delaying it. Volvo is saying that it is small in size and big on safety. So this should be coming out soon. Kind of to go to the other end of cars, here are some larger EVs that all have 3 rows of seats. Yeah, the Kia EV9 is an interesting model, really nice model, just qualifying for the federal tax credit. They also have a partnership with Wallbox, so they're testing out vehicle to home charging, which is interesting, a little bit more robust than the vehicle to load that we're seeing on the other Kias, the bidirectional charging where you can power up a refrigerator. This, with the Wallbox partnership, will have the opportunity to power up your whole home. The Mercedes comes in at a great price. This is one of those that was listed as great lease pricing as well. So the Rivian R1S is a very popular car. This is, again, Rivian is an all-electric manufacturer. They have this R1S and an R1T truck. It'll be on my next slide. Rivian is really marketing toward adventure, lots of adventure people. So they're putting in their own charging network in national parks and in far-reaching places, which is really great. In 2026, Rivian is coming out with their R2S and R2T that may have a little bit less range and also significantly more affordable. VinFast is fun. VinFast is a Vietnamese company. I will say I was in Vietnam for 2 weeks in January, and I loved, let's just say in Hanoi, Vietnam, the air quality is really bad. There are a lot of motorbikes, a lot of gas cars driving on the roads. It used to be bicycles and cyclos when I was there 30 years ago. But whenever I didn't hear a car approaching, I knew it was a VinFast, one of their electric models. And it's great to see some EVs coming from other places. Okay, so these trucks are already here. And the Ram also has an EV truck now that I couldn't squeeze onto the slide. These trucks are basically generators at home and batteries on wheels on the road. The regular F-150 is the most popular car in the United States, and the Lightning has become very popular. The Silverado EV pickup truck has a foldable rear bulkhead, which can extend the bed length to over 9 feet. It also has advanced towing technology and up to 11 outlets. That's what I mean. It is a battery on wheels when it's away from your home. You can plug in other things and use the battery to charge up, other appliances, work appliances, etc., medical devices. Rivian, we've already talked a little bit about Rivian, real popular truck. The Rivians come in really bright, fun colors also. Over 1 million people have ordered the Tesla Cybertruck, and we all see them around, and sometimes it is a little shocking when you see them. I test drove a Cybertruck also at an event last year. It just feels like driving a regular car. It has really great turning radius, really easy to turn that car, much more so than the Tesla Model 3, for example. It just kind of felt like a regular car to drive. It looks so different on the outside. Well, I don't know if this car warrants its own slide, but it's my own personal favorite. And I think a lot of people in California are excited to see the Volkswagen ID Buzz come out. The Volkswagen ID brand has promised to come out with a new EV every year. This one came out at the end of last year. Personally, I envision, in a few years, driving up and down the coast in one of these micro buses, powering up like a coffee maker from one of the plugs in there and having my own little setup. I think we've all been awaiting this car. Pretty exciting. Okay, so I'm not featuring too many plug-in hybrids, but these are some of the real popular ones that we've seen, and I wanted to bring these up to your attention. Um, the Toyota RAV4 Prime has been super popular. You know, when it first came out, the dealerships were asking like $10,000 over MSRP for this car, but now people are getting much better deals. I know 3 people who own this car who really love it. And we really love that it has a nice high electric range. Most people can do most of their driving on electricity in the RAV4 Prime. The Jeep Wrangler is real popular as well, like a fun car to take out on outings. And then I wanted to give a little bit of attention to pre-owned cars. So of course, all of these cars that you've seen, you know, come in, pre-owned, but we work with a dealership that focuses on used EVs called Emotion Autos, and their website is here. I highly recommend working with them. I got my last EV from them, and it was a great experience. They gave me some like pricing on pre-owned EVs, so I wanted to just share a couple of slides because that's interesting for people. It's funny, depending upon, the different rebates that are available, sometimes it makes sense to get a new one versus a pre-owned one. I did want to say that, because pre-owned cars, there's so much variability. There's a range of pricing. So you can even look at this like Tesla Model 3. You can find one between $20,000 and $35,000. Depending upon, how many miles are on it, what the body is like, if they've been in an accident or something like that beforehand. But, working with Emotion Autos, they're really a trusted source. They met in the 80s doing research at Stanford, and they've been working in the utility world for their whole careers in retirement. Their mission is to get ordinary people to drive EVs. They're tired of seeing empty charging stations, and they want more people to drive electric. So these are some sample prices. These are a little higher end. There is the federal tax credit for pre-owned EVs. The price limit is $25,000. That's why some of these are interesting if your income qualifies for the pre-owned tax credit. Here are some plug-in hybrids pre-owned and some sample pricing. It used to be that plug-in hybrids were more affordable than EVs, but now that battery prices have come down, it's not the case necessarily anymore. Here are some other ones. Yeah, so you could see the range of like the Volvo, 25,000 to 65,000, just sort of depending upon that variability. I'll talk a little bit about Emotion Autos. The way it works is that you contact them. Sometimes we do campaigns with them where they'll offer an additional 1 year or 10,000 mile warranty if you come through us. We'll be doing those later this year. We should be offering 2 of those this year. So how this works is they're really knowledgeable about EVs. So you first have an initial conversation with them, and they sort of learn a little bit about how you'll be using your next car. They'll recommend some different cars that would work well for your lifestyle. And then once you've kind of narrowed it down, they'll recommend that you go test drive a couple of cars. Once you've narrowed down to what you want, then you'll let them know like what color you want, what trims you want, what special features you want. When I bought an EV from them, I said, the body, body has different ratings. So I said, I want one that's 4.5 or out of 5 or above. I want one that looks nice. I want one that's a model year 2021 or newer, and I don't want to pay more than this. This is my maximum. So then they want to, make sure that's a reasonable request that you have. And then you'll sign a contract with them and pay them $500. Now, if they can find that, then they go out to auction to find your car. So because they don't keep cars at a lot, they have access to so many more EVs all over the Bay Area. Like at one point last year, they were saying they have like access to 1,500 Chevy Bolts. If you were to go to a dealership, which is definitely another way to go about it, they might have three or four on the lot. So you have much more choice if you go through auction. So once then they'll email you and say, we found this car. Look at the reports on this car. So they get the reports on the car so you can take a look at those. Do you want me to take this? Shall we buy it or not? And then if you go ahead, buy it, they'll bid for it and hopefully get that car. Then they'll have it shipped back to they're located here in the Bay Area. And then they will bring it to a mechanic, have it checked out. They want to make sure everything is in good working order. And then they will deliver it to your house if you live in the Bay Area. So it's quite an excellent service. So just wanted to explain how that works. Hey, I also want to give a plug to electric bikes. So if you're not quite in the market for an EV, an e-bike might be right for you. So instead of hopping in a gas car, you can try commuting or running errands with an e-bike. E-bikes are fast and fun. There are so many different types and models to choose from cargo to commuter to recreational. And there are some great state rebates coming out as well. One launched last year. They were all nabbed up very quickly, but I know they're hoping to launch more rounds of rebates throughout this year. Okay, so before I move on to talking about incentives, I'm gonna see if there are any questions. Great. Is there any communication on the solid state battery production, making range to go higher and charge time faster? Really great question, Kevin. Yeah, I was during the pandemic, I attended some webinars about this. I know they were saying that they're hoping by 2025 to have some pilots of the solid state batteries and that they would be like more in the market in 2027. Since then, I will say, I mean, yes, we are looking for efficiency, faster charging, better efficiency of the batteries, absolutely. And there has been progress in the current EVs that are currently available. I mean, charging an EV for many EVs is now 20 minutes or less when you're on a road trip. In my Tesla Model Y, when I go to LA, I'll drive for about 3 hours, stop for 20 minutes to charge, drive another 3 hours, stop for 20 minutes. I always like to charge right before I get to LA just because I want to have some range in my car when I'm there. So it's really good to see that Lucid, over 400 miles of range. So pretty exciting. Yes, the plug-in. I hope that you saw the plug-in SUVs that I also demonstrated there. So a lot of the local events are more EV expos where you can see a lot of EVs all in one place. And we really like this model. That's what we typically do just because we ask owners to bring their EVs. So we get owner volunteers to come. What's nice about that is you get to hear the story about the EV. Like, why did you choose this EV? What are your favorite features about this EV? How do you charge at home? Have you taken it on road trips? Do you have solar? How does this all work in your, ecosystem? Due to insurance liability, you can't really have like volunteers doing test drives. But there are some local events that are ride and drives where there are maybe like the one I went to in the fall, there were like 4 or 5 EV manufacturers there doing test rides. Thanks all for coming. Yeah, I know some of you might drop off because I'm going to talk about incentives now. But if you came just for the EV showcase, thank you so much for coming. So we're going to talk a little bit about incentives. So there are currently, various types of incentives that can save you money when you buy or lease certain EVs. The federal tax credit or the clean vehicle credit is available as a rebate at point of sale. We highly recommend that if you're planning to get an EV, that you don't wait to use this as a tax credit, but that you get it immediately upfront. We just don't know the longevity of this tax credit. And so we recommend that you get that money upfront if you can. There is no tax liability needed, which makes it more accessible for other people. And you do have to leave the dealership with a seller's report. If you purchase a new or a pre-owned EV and apply that clean vehicle credit as an upfront rebate. So when you do file your taxes, you will have to submit that form. And if you typically don't file taxes, you will have to if you took this rebate. A little more, so there are income caps on the new EVs if you're purchasing a new EV. It's for a single person, 150,000. If you file jointly, it's 300,000. If you're purchasing a new EV. On my next slide, I'm going to give you a list of all the EVs that qualify for the clean vehicle credit when you purchase a new EV. You can purchase a pre-owned EV. You can get up to $4,000. It's 30% of the cost, up to $4,000. The vehicle price limit is $25,000, and there is an income cap that's even more significant, $75,000 as a single person and $150,000 if you file jointly. So it's the federal government really set this up to be, available as an equity, for lower income, folks so that everyone can go electric. Now, if you lease a new EV, there are great deals available and there are no restrictions. So they're also benefiting from this, from the federal tax credit. We don't know. There are all sorts of restrictions for the new EVs. They have to have like final assembly in the US. They have, they actually have a vehicle cap. There are battery requirements, which is why it's a select list of cars that qualify. But when you lease a new EV, there are none of these requirements or restrictions. There are no income caps. The car can be manufactured anywhere, but you definitely want to check with the dealership or with Cartelligent to make sure that the dealer is passing along a lease credit or a lease deal. It might not be called the federal tax credit. It might be called a lease bonus or a lease credit. And as I mentioned earlier last month, we were seeing lease bonuses like on the Honda Prologue of $21,400 off a lease. And if you purchase that Honda Prologue, you would get like $14,000 off. So we're seeing some great dealer credits out there. So at this point, like different times, it sort of varies. Like there were no really good lease prices like 3 years ago. People were paying pretty high for lease prices. Right now, I've heard of people in the last year paying even less than $200 a month with like $2,000 down, up to, I would say most people are paying somewhere between $250 and $400 for some of the lower end EVs. So real significant. There are state grants available. These are programs intended for lower income folks in California. Clean Cars for All is a retire and replace program. You need a 2007, you need to retire a 2007 or older car. And then you may get a grant for up to $12,000, depending upon where you live in the Bay Area. If you live in a disadvantaged community, which means you have poor air quality, $12,000. For other communities, $10,000. That can stack with other rebates and incentives. So it's very interesting. You do have to apply for that grant in advance. I'm hearing it takes between 2 and 6 months to get that grant. You need that paper in hand, bring it to the dealership or to Cartelligent or Emotion Autos, and they'll help you process it. Drive Clean Assistance Program is coming back to the Bay Area. It's going to be available in all of California. It's coming back to the Bay Area in March 25th, I believe. And it's a $7,500 grant. You don't have to retire a car. It is based on your income. I believe your income as a single person should be around $45,000 to qualify for these two grants. Wait till you have the grant in hand, though, before you get it. Then there are some local incentives. So PG&E has a pre-owned EV incentive. I benefited from that one when I got my pre-owned Tesla Model Y a year and a half ago. I got a $1,000 check in the mail from PG&E. Based on your income, you could also get $4,000. on a pre-owned EV. And MCE, this is very specific here. MCE and PCE and Silicon Valley Clean Energy also have rebates. In this case, MCE has a rebate for $3,500 for new, $2,000 for pre-owned. I believe Silicon Valley Clean Energy and PCE, Peninsula Clean Energy, only have a pre-owned rebate. But what's nice is these things all sort of stack. So for some people in the Bay Area, there are savings of like $22,000 off an EV, just with all of these incentives. A great place to start is a savings calculator. Here's an example of one, Drive Clean. This one comes from the state, where you can find out exactly which incentives you qualify for. These are all the EVs that qualify for the federal tax credit for new EVs, if you purchase or finance them. So there are many options. That Cadillac Optic is not quite available yet. I was just looking at it before this webinar. I don't think the Wagoneer is quite out yet, but it should be. The Kia EV6 and the Kia EV9 were just added to this list in 2025, and a couple of cars were taken off. I just wanted to just say real quickly with this federal tax credit, and I'll go back one slide. We really have no idea. We've been following the news. Many of you probably have as well. We're really not sure what's going to happen to this tax credit. We hope that it stays a thing, but we've heard, and read from many sources that it might be going away. We've also heard that our governor, Gavin Newsom, might add a rebate, a state rebate, not a grant, but a rebate for more moderate income folks, at least, so that, to make EVs more affordable. So all we can really say is now is a great time to get an EV, whether it's new or pre-owned. The federal tax credit is available. That's been helping bring down these lease prices and also the purchase prices on these select cars. A little more about who we are and what we do. We offer EV campaigns where you can save money on new and pre-owned EVs. We work with Cartelligent and eMotion Autos on these. We offer these 3 to 4 times a year. Actually, last year we did 5 in 2024. We just had our flash sale in January. Stay tuned to see if we can extend that into February a little bit. We offer EV expos where you can talk to multiple EV owners and view a variety of EVs all in one place. We have one coming up on March 29th in Palo Alto at Mitchell Park. You'll see more notes from us, emails from us about this. We have one coming up May 4th in San Anselmo. We have them coming up really throughout the Bay Area. We'll have one in Vallejo sometime in the next 6 months, and probably one in Novato, one in San Rafael as well. We also do EV and e-bike webinars, ongoing webinars. We actually have one coming up this Thursday in English and Spanish. So we're trying to make these accessible for more people. And then finally, we have newsletters. So keep up on our campaigns through our newsletters and learn the latest news. We'll be keeping you up to date on everything EV. So really, I'd like to thank you all for attending this program this evening, wherever you are in your journey to an EV. We know that many people come to multiple webinars before they purchase, and we're here for you. We're really here to help you make your next car electric. I hope the webinar was helpful. Again, I want to thank City of Palo Alto Utilities for funding this webinar. If you can make a switch to driving electric now, we're here to help. The sooner, the better. If you're not ready now, can we have your support by pledging to make your next car electric? Truly, we gave you that opportunity in the poll that we did and when you signed up for this webinar. Our biggest ask really is please don't buy a new gas car. It will be on this earth emitting carbon and air pollution for the next 12 to 15 years, and we have to stop doing that as quickly as possible. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen to see if there are any more questions. I see a couple things here. I've heard there are great lease deals on the Ioniq 5. Something that some people do is they will lease an EV because there are such great lease deals, and then they will buy out their lease. And that seems to save money for some people. If you do go that route, I would definitely talk to the dealership or Cartelligent about what the buyout price is going to be to see if that makes sense for your finances. Yeah, the Ionic 5 does not qualify for the federal tax credit, but there are really good lease rebates. Robert, I'm going to actually take note of your question and get back to you that utilize lithium ion as opposed to the more common lithium nickel manganese or lithium ion as well. Robert, you're asking me a more advanced question, and I was more up to date on that a few years ago, and I need to kind of get back to you on that one, and I will make note. I'm making note of your name right now. Let's see. Robert. Feel free to unmute and ask any questions if you have them.
You mentioned there are Vietnamese-made cars that are coming
Yes.
and being sold. I
Yes.
heard that in Europe there are some Chinese-made EV cars that are actually not expensive and pretty good. Any
Yeah.
news on whether those cars can be sold here?
I think we're watching the tariffs, what's going on there with the tariffs on a daily basis. We know that, so I can't really answer that. I don't know what the new administration stance is going to be on that. I do know that the Biden administration was really trying to encourage locally made cars with their federal tax credit, cars that have final assembly in the United States, and cars that have battery components that are manufactured and sourced from our friends, our trading partners who are friends, which means all countries except Iran, China, North Korea, and Russia. So yeah, it's more of a political question right now. Yeah, I actually talked to somebody last month who lives in Beijing, and they used to have really poor air quality in Beijing. He said that in the last 4 months, he has not been in a gas car. They have so many EVs in Beijing now. So yeah, they have really good pricing, and they've had lots of great incentives on EVs in China. Yeah. Yes, so we do want to get people into EVs, and we hope we have even more of a variety of prices. I mean, I love that we have such a great variety of EVs right now, growing every year. There is truly something for every lifestyle and budget at this point. And it saves money, so many benefits to driving electric, so much more fun to drive electric, saving time, saving money. So there are some EVs that are available here and now, and I'd like to just focus on those because you can have one tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see what happens with tariffs. And if I don't see any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and end this call. I notice we're past the 6 o'clock hour. And I want to thank you all again for coming. Join us for more webinars and EV shows. I will be adding some more webinars on our events page in the next few days.